A police officer found guilty of misconduct appeals his demotion. The TSB issues its report into a deadly Thunder Bay plane crash. And a major uproar over a suspected Chinese spy balloon. Good evening and thank you for joining us. A Thunder Bay police officer found guilty of neglect of duty and discreditable conduct in the Stacey DeBungee death investigation is appealing his punishment that was handed down today.
The adjudicator in the Police Act hearing ruled that Staff Sergeant Sean Harrison be demoted to sergeant for 18 months and take Indigenous culture competency training. But those actions are now on hold, pending the outcome of the appeal. Harrison pleaded guilty to the neglect of duty charge back in May. He was then found guilty of discreditable conduct in July. Adjudicator Greg Walton found that Harrison displayed an unconscious bias while investigating the 2015 death of DeBungee, an Indigenous man. In today's ruling, Walton justified not going further with his punishment, stating, quote, Staff Sergeant Harrison's usefulness to the Thunder Bay Police Service has not been annulled, nor do I find it necessary that Staff Sergeant Harrison be demoted to the rank of constable. Lawyers representing the DeBungee family had called for Harrison to be fired. They say the family deserved better, calling the adjudicator's decision a missed opportunity to address the larger issue between Indigenous people in Thunder Bay and the Thunder Bay Police Service, and to deter similar behavior in the future.
A local man faces 3 charges related to the possession and distribution of child pornography. 33-year-old Joshua Maxwell was arrested at an Oak Avenue home on Wednesday. Thunder Bay Police began investigating in November, and the accused was also being investigated by York Regional Police. Maxwell appeared in court yesterday and has been released from custody with conditions.
The Transportation Safety Board has released its final report into a fatal plane crash at the Thunder Bay Airport in 2021. The lone pilot, 30-year-old Pete Belotis, was killed after the Bird Dog aircraft crashed on the runway just after takeoff. The TSB has determined the pilot was attempting a risky flight maneuver when the incident occurred. Jonathan Wilson reports.
The fatal crash occurred on the night of August 16, 2021. The small Rockwell Commander plane had just taken off, bound for Dryden, where it was being used as a bird dog for battling forest fires. The TSB says the pilot, 30-year-old Pete Belotis, conducted a rapid, low-level climbing steep turn just a few seconds into the flight. That risky maneuver caused an aerodynamic stall, and the plane lost control and crashed sideways on the other runway. It was Belotis' 3rd takeoff that day. The TSB released a transcript of conversations between Belotis and the control tower. The pilot had done a similar maneuver on his first takeoff, and an air traffic controller in training said, "That was fantastic. Thanks for the little show." To which Belotis responded, "I can get closer if you'd like." And then, just before his second takeoff, said, "Get your camera ready," before veering very close to the control tower. The TSB says pilots who repeatedly perform a dangerous maneuver become desensitized to the high level of risk. The report added that if air traffic controllers encourage unusual flight activity, pilots may perceive them as acceptable, increasing the risk of an accident. The company that owned the plane, Meg Aerospace, suspended all flights after the fatal crash and held a company-wide safety meeting. The discussion focused on unsafe flying practices and the need to eradicate a cowboy or hot dog culture in the aviation community. Jonathan Wilson, TBT News.
Last night was the last chance for members of the public to weigh in on Thunder Bay's 2023 budget before it's ratified by council next week. The public post-budget meeting featured 6 deputants, all touching on some big topics contributing to the tax levy hike. Some concerns included service cuts and the large proposed increase to the Thunder Bay Police budget. Others fear how the tax levy, which currently sits at 4.5% after growth, will affect the average property owner, especially considering how the cost of living is rising across the board.
It will do nothing but add more stress to those people who are already having a difficult time making ends meet and coping with the high price of everything, including groceries and all other essentials.
Give long, hard thought to the police budget and why and how you were able to debate thousands of dollars of budgets and barely batted an eye at a $4 million increase.
Now now asking and imploring you to reverse your decision on the $500,000 worth of cuts that you have no idea what's coming. You are blindly telling administration to cut $500,000 worth of services without even understanding what could come.
The budget is expected to be ratified when council meets again on Monday night.
With the extreme cold warning still in effect, having a safe place to warm up is becoming increasingly crucial. And with the cancellation of the Shelter House's SOS van, the need for the Norwest Health Centre Care Bus is growing even more. This week has been the coldest so far this winter, and members of the homeless population are most in danger. Since December, the Care Bus has seen 2,436 people use its services. And with the temperatures dropping even more recently, Norwest Director of Health Services Jennifer Lawrence says that number is expected to increase.
So we've seen use of the Care Bus increase dramatically over the past week, as well as the duration of use, because people don't have anywhere else to go.
There also used to be an SOS van to help out in weather like this, but now there's just the Care Bus to keep people out on the streets safe.
The end of the day, I think, is really hard for individuals and for the Care Bus staff, because the bus runs until 9, as many folks are aware. SOS used to run into the early morning hours. So for people who don't get a shelter bed or can't access one of the shelter beds, they have nowhere to go once the bus is finished for the day and the warming centers are closed.
Back in October, there were concerns that a lack of funding would halt the Care Bus as well. Thankfully, the Thunder Bay DSAB and other funders came together and provided enough money for the Care Bus to operate this winter. Lawrence says they really need a more long-term solution for funding it.
The Care Bus is a really essential service. Unfortunately, we're really hopeful that we can work with our partners to find a longer-term solution to the financial planning for the bus, and part of that relates to other services embedded within the city so that people have access to warm, safe spaces and to the services they need, but it doesn't negate the need for the Care Bus and SOS type services that could run 24/7.
It'll be at least another 4 weeks until evacuees from Wabsumung First Nation are able to go home. That's how long it's expected to take to set up a temporary water line bypass system. That will give the community running water, but the boil water advisory will continue for much longer. Wabsumung leaders are working with multiple partners to repair damage to their water treatment system. Around 350 community members were evacuated to Kenora and later Winnipeg just before the holidays.
Thunder Bay's first ever French public school is just 7 months away from officially opening its doors, as it's set to open in time for the next academic year. The school sits on the site of the former Edgewater Public School on Victoria Avenue, which closed just before the pandemic. Although none of the renovations have started, the old classrooms and gym are already in workable condition, and the building has heat, electricity, and drinking water. Principal Oy Semwan says they've been busy promoting the school and determining the number of staff that need to be hired. Thunder Bay already has French Catholic schools on the city's north side, and Wan says she's excited to offer an alternative to local francophones.
I think it's important to offer the public a second option. Not only is it public education, but it's also on the other side of the town. So knowing that the other school board is on the north end, it's always wonderful to offer a second option to families who are looking for a closer, shorter bus rides to get to school. We're looking at offering a dynamic and inclusive education and innovative with technology and lots of activities for the kids. So options are always great.
Wan adds that the first steps in the renovations involve the main office area, adding an elevator, and updating the classrooms on the second level.
A new exhibit at the Thunder Bay Art Gallery features some impressive works from talented students at Dennis Franklin Cromartie High School. Their pieces are being paired with work from the gallery's private collection, creating a unique and stunning experience. Vasilios Bellows reports.
It's an incredible opportunity for some very talented Dennis Franklin Cromartie art students who are featured in the newest exhibition at the Thunder Bay Art Gallery. Andy Zayak, or Where Are You Going?, opened up at the beginning of the month. It all sparked from student visits to the gallery's permanent collection, with each student being able to select one of those works to be featured with their own in the exhibition.
It's been a big part of my life. Like growing up, I was really into art and crafts.
Grade 12 student Akota Quill says being able to look at that permanent collection was an inspiring experience, especially considering many people never get that opportunity.
It was amazing, seeing all the art and how they're all so much older than I am, and they're still being cared for, that's amazing. That could be one of my pieces someday.
There was an opening night event for the students who were able to show off their work for the first time to the public. Tessa Harper is a grade 11 art student at DFC and explains how rewarding that experience was.
I think the greatest part of it was they were looking at it because they wanted to, because they thought it was cool, that it looked nice, and not because they didn't know I was standing there.
Harper goes on to say this experience so far has provided her the confidence to continue improving her craft as an artist.
Have people encourage me for it as a result of seeing the things that I can create, it makes me want to continue doing my best.
Getting to see people fall in love with art and see that they can create something and then see their skills progress because they're doing so much artwork day in and day out. And they don't even realize sometimes how far they've come till they look back at the artwork that they started with.
It only takes a few steps into the new exhibit here at the Thunder Bay Art Gallery to recognize the talent and the taste that students at DFC have. And for those who do want to check it out, there is still time, with the exhibit closing on March 19th. Vasilios Bellos, TVT News.
The Sled for Eternity event is back tomorrow in Kekabeka Falls, and it's not too late to sign up. The charity snowmobile ride is raising money for people struggling with addiction. Last year's event saw around 60 snowmobilers turn out, and organizers are hoping for even more this year. Corey Ritaller with Adult and Teen Challenge says people can still register for tomorrow's Sled for Eternity event by paying the $100 entry fee. It takes place tomorrow morning, starting at the Kekabeka Legion. Participants must have their driver's license. Those 16 and under must have a special snowmobile license to join.
Well, we always have a goal, try to raise at least $60,000, if not more. It goes right back into the community here in Thunder Bay to help people that are trying to change their lives from struggling through addiction to now being recontributing members of society.
Registration begins at 8:30 a.m. Over 200 kilometers of trail is marked and ready. Along with giving back to the community and having fun, participants will also be able to win many prizes at the various checkpoints.
Well, Fiona, we saw during that interview just how cold it was out there once again today, but I'm hoping there's good news on the horizon.
Yes, there is good news on the horizon because this morning, it's really hard to stay positive.
Yeah.
I could hear the F words all over town. It was frosty, it was frigid, it was freezing. 9 a.m., we hit our low of -30 and wind chills of -42 today. 9 a.m. Now, we have warmed up during the afternoon to about -18. There was lots of sunshine, and the wind chill reached about -28. That's with winds fairly light, we'll call it, to moderate, 14 to 18 kilometers per hour from the west. And it's, I believe, gone up even further in the last hour as far as the wind chills being less of a factor. Now, we are not the only ones using F words like frosty, frigid, and freezing in the region today. This morning, Fort Frances up into Red Lake, even into Greenstone, saw the wind chills also reach -41, -42 as well. At this hour, Fort Frances has a lot of cloud at -19, a wind chill of -27. A little cooler as you head up into Kenora and Dryden. Red Lake has had light snow for most of the day. They're currently at -21 and a wind chill of -30. That light snow continues into Sioux Lookout and Armstrong. Greenstone has had clear skies throughout the day. Unfortunately, that doesn't generally make things much warmer at this time of year. So -25 feels closer to -31 at this time. We've got minus 20 in both Nipigon and Marathon at this hour. Sault Ste. Marie has had light snow for most of the day, and they are currently, I'm going to tell you that number is not right. They've got wind chills at this hour of minus 22. Last night they did not hit minus 42, but they did hit minus 43 wind chills. So a lot of snow in the region today. Now, here in the city of Thunder Bay, we are going to drop down to a low of minus 20, which is definitely an improvement over yesterday's or last night's. And the wind chill is also improving. We're only going to drop to minus 27. So it's really not going to get a whole lot cooler than it's at this hour. And there is a couple of centimeters of snow moving in overnight as we head into the weekend. Well, Saturday is looking definitely warmer, and you know, with the temperatures we've had, you've got almost nowhere to go but up, but a lot of gray skies. For Sunday, even warmer, might even see the sun return. But as we head into next week, well, daytime highs, believe it or not, are expected to pop just slightly above the freezing mark. And I'll have more details on when that's going to happen later on in the news hour.
Well, I'm glad people won't have to utter frosty, frigid, and freezing anymore. You know, those are the only F words I know to describe the weather.
Absolutely.
So we're happy we can use them up and get them out of the way. Well, it's become a pretty major international incident. What's suspected to be a Chinese spy balloon has been seen floating above the U.S. and Canada in recent days. We'll tell you all about it as your Friday News Hour continues.
The balloon is maneuverable. Clearly, it's violated U.S. airspace.